It's 9:47 p.m. You're standing in line, one item behind the person checking out. The total pops up. You swipe your card. Declined. Your stomach drops, not because of the money, but because your brain instantly starts doing math you didn't ask for. Okay, if I move the gas bill to Friday. No. Wait, rent hits Thursday. Can I risk the overdraft? What if I just put half back? You're not embarrassed yet. You're calculating. Fast. And that's the part nobody talks about. This isn't a budgeting problem. This is a timing problem. You're not broke because you don't make enough. You're broke because everything bad happens too close together. Now imagine the same moment, but you've got $10,000 sitting quietly in the background. The card declines and you're still annoyed, but you're not scared. Your shoulders don't tense. Your brain doesn't sprint. You just fix it. But there's a catch. Most people think $10,000 changes your life because it makes you secure. That's not the real reason. The real change is invisible. And if you don't understand it, you'll lose that first $10,000 faster than you think. Hey, I'm Brian. I spend way too much time thinking about why normal people keep doing everything right and still feel stuck. And if you want to stop living one bad moment away from a financial spiral, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me. Because the quiet leak that drains most people's safety net doesn't look like a disaster. It looks like relief. And if you miss it, you end up right back in line, doing math you hate. So let's name what's actually happening in that checkout line. Because once you name it, it stops owning you. You're not making bad decisions. You're making what I call next problem decisions. Every choice isn't about what's best. It's about which fire you can afford to put out right now. And that's exhausting. At 3:17 a.m., you wake up and your brain is already spinning. Not about big dreams. About sequencing. If the car holds out 2 more weeks, if nothing else breaks, if I don't get sick. That's the midnight reel, when your body is tired, but your nervous system is on duty because it knows there's no buffer. Life before $10,000 feels like this. Something breaks, and fear hits first. Your chest tightens. Your brain floods with worst-case scenarios. You don't ask, what's the best move? You ask, what hurts least? Life after $10,000 looks almost identical on the outside. The tire still blows, the fridge still dies, but internally, it's a different movie. You're irritated, not terrified. Your body reacts differently. You're annoyed, not scared. But there's a catch. That feeling shift isn't because the math magically works now. It's because you're no longer paying what I call the fragility tax. When you're broke, everything costs extra. Late fees, overdrafts, high-interest fixes. You don't just pay for the problem. You pay for the financing of the problem. Here's the hidden calculation your brain is running when you don't have a buffer. How long can I delay this before it becomes catastrophic? That's the real equation. Not dollars, time. And this is where the life A versus life B split matters. Life A, your car needs $900 in repairs. You put it on a credit card at 24% interest, miss a shift, and spend the next 6 months climbing out. Life B, same $900 repair. You pay it, feel annoyed for 10 minutes, and move on with your week. Same event, same cost, completely different life. But there's a catch. If you don't understand why $10,000 creates that shift and what quietly erodes it, you'll think the number is the win. It's not. The real win is escaping rotating pain. That loop where solving one problem just creates the next one. And once you feel that escape for the first time, that's when the real danger starts. And some of you are already thinking, okay, but $10,000 isn't realistic for me. Or, that number wouldn't even last 3 months where I live. Or, what about debt? Good. Those are the right objections. Because here's the truth. The real number isn't $10,000. The real number is time. $10,000 just happens to represent roughly 3 to 4 months of essential expenses for a lot of people. Not comfort, not luxury, oxygen. But there's a catch. When people hear that, they turn it into a goalpost instead of a tool. They chase the number without changing the system underneath it. Let me translate this into real-world math. If your essential expenses are $2,500 a month, then $10,000 buys you 4 months of decision space. If your expenses are $1,500, then it buys you over 6. If your expenses are $3,500, then it buys you less than 3, and that changes the strategy. Same number, different reality. And this is where people mess up even when they're doing everything right. They build the buffer, and then they put it in the same lane as their life. Think of your finances like a two-lane road. One lane is for movement, paying bills, groceries, gas, normal life. The other lane is a shock absorber. It only exists to take hits so the rest of your life doesn't swerve. But there's a catch. Most people merge those lanes without realizing it. The money sits in the same account as their checking. They see it every day, and slowly, subconsciously, it stops feeling like a shock absorber and starts feeling like a temptation jar. That's the first trap, the daily visibility trap. What you see, you spend. Not because you're irresponsible, because your brain is designed to normalize available resources. Then comes the second trap, the convenience trap. I'll just put this on the emergency fund and pay it back next month. Except next month already has a job. And the third trap is sneakier, the storage unit trap. You upgrade your life just enough, better car, bigger place, higher baseline, that the buffer quietly becomes maintenance money instead of protection. But there's a catch. None of these feel like mistakes while you're making them. They feel like relief, progress, normal life finally catching up. And that's why separation isn't about discipline. It's about design. Physical separation, psychological separation, behavioral separation. If your buffer lives where you're spending lives, it's not a buffer. It's a delay. And once that delay disappears, you're back to rotating pain, just with nicer stuff. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. Now we go to the part nobody wants to admit, because it sounds like a character flaw, but it isn't. When you live without a buffer, you're paying a brain tax every single day. Constant low-level decision-making, microstress, background anxiety. Your mind is always half-occupied running contingency plans. And that cognitive load is expensive. Studies on decision fatigue show that when your brain is under constant stress, your impulse control drops and your tolerance for friction collapses. Translation: when you're exhausted, you don't make dumb choices. You make fast relief choices. If you've ever finally had a little breathing room and immediately upgraded something, food delivery instead of cooking, the nicer option instead of the cheapest, that I deserve this subscription, hit like, because that's the trap. But there's a catch. That relief spending isn't indulgence. It's recovery. Your nervous system is trying to stand down from high alert. You're not broken, you're human. The real problem is what happens next. Because while you're recovering, the system is hunting. Let's talk about the villain. The villain isn't you. It's fragility-based extraction. Fees, interest, design choices that profit when you don't have time. Overdraft fees alone average around $35 per hit. And according to Federal Reserve data, households that overdraft do it multiple times a year, not because they're reckless, but because timing is tight. Credit card interest sits north of 20% APR for many people. Payday-style products can quietly exceed 300% annualized. But there's a catch. That's not a side effect. That's a business model. When you don't have a buffer, you're forced into expensive speed. You borrow at the worst moments. You pay penalties for being late. You accept bad terms because you don't have the luxury of waiting. And here's the quiet part. Once you finally build that $10,000, your brain remembers the pain. So it tries to preempt it. It says, let's smooth things out. Let's make life easier. That's when the quiet leak starts again. Small upgrades. Slightly higher baseline. Nothing reckless. Just enough to feel normal. But there's a catch. If you don't intentionally protect the buffer from your own very reasonable desire for comfort, the brain tax creeps back in, silently. And one day, you look up and realize the shock absorber is thinner than you thought. The real danger isn't blowing the money on something stupid. The real danger is slowly converting insurance into lifestyle without noticing. And once that happens, the villain doesn't have to chase you anymore. You walk right back into the lane. Okay, practical time. This is boring mode, not hero mode. No dramatic sprints. No, I'll fix everything this month. This is about building something that survives real life. Because here's the biggest argument that always shows up in the comments. Should I save first or pay off debt first? That's a false dichotomy. Extreme 1 says, save nothing until you're debt-free. Extreme 2 says, save everything and ignore debt. Both fail in the real world. But there's a catch. The middle path only works if you do it in phases. Step 1, build a starter buffer. Not $10,000. Not even close. 1 month of essential expenses. That's it. That's the first win. This isn't about safety. It's about stopping the bleeding so the next problem doesn't knock you backward. Step 2, separate the lanes. Physically separate accounts. Different bank if you can. No debit card. No daily visibility. Because psychology is reality. If the money is easy to touch, it will get touched. Step 3, define what counts as an emergency. An emergency threatens income, health, or shelter. Not convenience. Not boredom. Not this would be nice right now. Clarity now prevents arguments with yourself later. But there's a catch. You don't wait until you're perfect to do this. You do it while messy, while paying debt, while rebuilding habits. Step 4, the middle path. Once the starter buffer exists, you attack high-interest debt while slowly growing the full buffer. Not all savings. Not all debt. Progress on both lanes. Step 5, the identity shift. This is the quiet part. You become someone who doesn't use emergency money to fix feelings. You become someone who protects future time. And pause here for a second. Which phase are you in right now? Starter buffer? Debt attack? Full buffer build? Knowing your phase stops you from copying the wrong advice. Emergency money is insurance, not investment. Don't chase returns. Don't optimize it. Its job is to be boring and available. Now here's the upside. The part people can't understand until they feel it. It's not excitement. It's not swagger. It's quiet confidence. You negotiate differently because you're not desperate. You say no faster. You wait longer. You don't jump at the first offer because you don't need the money right now. You stop making decisions just to end discomfort. You start making decisions based on direction. But there's a catch. Right after you hit this level, new predators show up. Ads get louder. Opportunities start finding you. Lifestyle upgrades whisper that you've earned them. And some of them are true. But timing still matters. The buffer isn't there to fund your next life upgrade. It's there to keep your life from collapsing when something unexpected happens. Remember the quiet leak? This is where it tries again, dressed up as success. If you protect this phase, everything downstream gets easier. If you don't, you end up rebuilding the same safety net again. And that's the difference between touching $10,000 once and keeping it. All right, let's wrap this up with how to keep it once you build it. 5 rules to protect your buffer and make it last. Rule 1. Keep it physically separate. Same account, same temptation, same problem. Rule 2. Only touch it for true emergencies. Define them clearly every time. Rule 3. Rebuild immediately after any withdrawal. Don't let one problem turn into a permanent leak. Rule 4. Set boundaries with family, friends, and lifestyle pressure. You're protecting options, not giving gifts. Rule 5. Treat it as insurance, not wealth. It's a shock absorber, not a growth vehicle. If you're thinking, I'll never get this right, listen, you will, as long as you follow the rules and respect the system. Mistakes aren't failure here, misusing the tool is. And finally, remember that opening moment in line? The card that declined? Imagine it again. Same scenario. But this time, you're annoyed, not scared. You're calm. You're in control. That's the real power of building and keeping your $10,000. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Next video, we're breaking down the shocking money stats of the average person, so you can see exactly how fragile most financial lives really are.